Hi guys, how are you? You saw my notes. Yeah, I do a lot of writing. So this video, how are you? This is Shamrondi from Life Design Topics, and I had to mull over my thoughts a lot before I made this video, and I gotta make sure that I wrap it up, so you could be able to see me. So this video was like heavy on my heart, just like black women in religion, maintenance men. It's just one of those kind of videos for me, and it's about being a nosy ass, nosy people, and I want to be really organized with my thoughts. I want to be really, really organized with my thoughts. I want to start out with the kind of people that victimize us, that are nosy. And then I want to move into you yourself as a woman being nosy, and then being careful with that. So nosiness is actually it causes so much trouble. It causes problems in neighborhoods. It causes problems in relationships, women snooping in men's phones and things like that, and men doing I'm grossed out. Okay. I mean, it's one thing as a woman doing it, but then it's a whole nother animal when a man does it, right? Because that means that man is super, super duper emotional, but he has something that you don't have as a woman, and that's masculine strength. It's like you could get yourself in major, major trouble, right? If you have a snooping ass man. Let's start there. Second thing is, so snooping causes a lot of problems in relationships. If you find yourself with that snooping spirit, you might want to pray about that. You might want to pray about it. You might want to create a bath. I don't know. Do whatever you need to do. Get some deliverance, okay? Because it doesn't do anybody any good. It's also why I make the kind of commentary when I talk to women, especially West Indian women, and we're having conversations about interpersonal relationships and how it suffered, and just really the victimization that happens with it. And it's because we are inherently brought up with colonialism hanging over our communities, right? And colonialism hanging over our communities is how the village is developed, and how we live as communities among each other in the West Indies, right? So when I tell women about not dating as a West Indian woman, it's like you can't have 10 boyfriends, right? If you're like this young girl back home in the village, everybody's minding your business, right? The neighborhood nosy lady, the snitch, the who, the hat, all those things. And these things are also, these kind of infrastructures are put into place also for, safety, right? You don't want children not being looked out for. But as you become a mature woman, it's like your privacy is very important. Hence why I think it's also really important for adult children to not cohabitate with their parents. I'm not talking about adult children that are in their late 40s and their parents are aging, and they're doing things to make sure that their parents can be safe, right? I'm speaking about you leaving high school. I'm talking about you going into college. You've already graduated from college. You went to school locally. You didn't go away to school. I think children should always go away to school, right? You should go away to school. You should do a semester abroad if you have the means and the resources and the connections and network to do so. It's really important because the privacy that you need is for you to be able to think clearly on your own and to make decisions and make mistakes that you need to learn from in the process. The other sad thing about, dealing with nosy people is a lot of our relatives are nosy. Okay, I have tons of them in my own family. Feel how you like. If you see this video, that's your business. You can go argue with somebody. I could care less, right? But there's a lot of nosy people in a lot of our families. And a lot of times that stems from people being lonely. That stems from them being empty nesters. That stems from them being raised by a nosy person, right? I noticed that, nosy people, they raise nosy children. Right, it's like a trait that passes from a mom to a daughter. My mom, there you go. My mom wasn't a nosy person. My mother wasn't a nosy person, and children, mothers are so fundamental in how children are raised. It's like you cannot ignore that. And if you don't have any children already of your own, and you come from nosy stock, you might need to get deliverance from it. Because if you don't correct it, you can cause your daughters, right? It's different when it's just small children, because curiosity is natural in children, right? I'm talking about nosiness to the point where you can affect somebody's life. You can break up somebody's relationship. You can, cause a lot of harm in your own interpersonal relationships. You have to be careful with that. One pet peeve I developed when I lived in New York, from like just waiting on the train, waiting, on the platform, and waiting for the train to come. You're waiting for the Q train, you're waiting for the N or the R to come on the opposite side, and eavesdropping. I cannot stand when I can hear somebody else's conversation. I don't like that. Because if I hear that you did something reckless, now I don't know you, but it's all dropped up into my spirit that you're an idiot. I don't want to know that you're an idiot if it's not meant for me to know that you're an idiot. You understand what I mean? I don't like that. So what that did to me was, as I started developing more and more of these these friendships that are going to carry me through adulthood, I noticed that because I was not nosy, it made me unaware that people around me were. And it may not have been for my good, you understand? Like, they could just be nosy because they just don't have anything going on in their life. I.e., these are the people that are going to be propped up on the pillow at the window, minding everybody's business on the block, right? It's one thing to catch a little fresh air and sunshine. It's another thing to just be a nosy person. I'm going to fast forward now. Now, when it comes to interpersonal relationships, try not to snoop, okay? And learn to trust your instinct. If you feel like you and your man, or your man expects you to exist in in the spirit of monogamy, but he is not honoring it, and you're starting to question if he is actually honoring it, there's a possibility he's not honoring it, okay? If you are hyper nosy, then he just may be trying to do something nice for you, and then you're like spoiling a surprise, right? Curiosity. But let's go deeper. If you now find out something that if I get clear answers on this, and I know it's going to break my heart, if it's true, you need to also ask yourself, while you're in the spirit, I gotta tie this up. The fumes are too much for me. I had gotten this amazing nail polish. Listen, that's why I'm trying to hurry up and do this video, because I need to go and replace it. It broke before I even made it home, and it's such a pretty color, but that's beside the point. If you feel like that situation, if it pans out to be true, and you're hoping for it to not be true, and the individual, I don't know, everybody has their roles, right? I don't know if is it a roommate kind of relationship, or is it more of a hypergamous type of relationship, or a relationship where your man fully mans up to his role of being a provider. Okay, I don't want to say a man, but owns up to the role of being a provider. You have to really be honest with yourself. What are you going to do if you find out that your nosiness has led you down a rabbit hole and you found out more than you can handle? I'm going to tell you that you're going to need to really think about and weigh the pros and the cons and decide if you're going to do something about it. If you think that for sure and you haven't gotten your proof yet, but you still plan on going forward with your investigation, and your investigation turns out that there is foul play for sure, and that was not something you agreed to, okay, and it steps outside of the bounds of the kind of relationship that you agreed to having, then you need to think about, do I stay or do I go? If I'm not going to bust down his shit, do I stay or do I go? And if you know, like, okay, I'm going to find this out, or for the sake of my sanity, let me not find out, because even if I find out I'm not going to leave, then don't go snooping, okay? Because I understand. People bring different things to our lives. They bring different values. Their value holds different weight. Everybody has a different value that they bring. And you know, Hillary Clinton, she knew what kind of animal she had, right? And that's the reason why she stayed married to him. She knew what he was capable of. She knew what kind of animal she had, though, right? And she knew what kind of animal she had, but she also respected the value that he brought to the relationship. Even in his indiscretions, he was still quite valuable to her, based on what it is that he brought to the table. Now, she was trying to do a lot in the business world. You know, it's so hard for us women to, you know, make the leaps and bounds that we want to make in our career. And then when you have somebody who's like, you know, he just really fills that void and really affirms us and all of that. But he doesn't have any owner, right? He's just a wild animal. He doesn't have any owner. You got to think like, do I just have a really pleasant conversation with him? Let us part ways in our interpersonal relationship and let's stay friends. Or do I go and I bust down his shit and show him that he messed with the wrong one? Or, you know, do I bring it to head for us to have a conversation? Maybe we can go through counseling and work through it, and then I give him another chance. You have to ask yourself these questions, and you got to be realistic about what you think the outcome is going to be. If you think the outcome is going to put you in a violent place, then it's better for you to be one of those women, those OGs that, like, you know what? There isn't love being served here at this table anymore. That good old Nina Simone quote. So because love is not being served here, I'm just peace, right? Since we in this 50-50, I'm his roommate, he feel like he could just do whatever, then you just pack up all your shit silently, or make a little 1-week plan, start moving things out that are inconspicuous. If you need to know how to move out, let me tell you, you start moving out the things. Go after work one day, you get yourself a storage unit. If you know that you plan on like leaving back the utilities and the pots and pans and plates and stuff, that's always good. Don't take that. I don't recommend that. If you plan on moving out of your man's house and you're with your man, and just go and get new utensils, new plates, new pots. I highly recommend that. Okay? And just start new, because those things that you use to maintain your household, it may trigger and cause you to be stagnant when you should be moving on, even after you've moved out of the apartment. Okay? So I recommend just taking your clothes and leave the things that make you feel frumpy. Like, do as much new as possible, right? Take your clothes, take your, your electronics, take those kind of things. If you have to take your furniture, then that'll be the last day, right? Like, he won't even know what hit him. Move out and get your stuff together. Make a plan. Give a date. Because if you don't put a date or a timeline on something, then it's just a plan and that's it. And then next thing you know, you're over there like, oh, we're having a good time. And then he's behaving himself because the other woman doesn't have time for him, right? Because she's dating multiple people, ladies. She returned your used up property back to you. She returned your used back property to you. She has no need for him for the next couple of days, or she's menstruating, or whatever the case may be. She just has no time for him. And here you're thinking, oh, we are just in such a happy place. Pay attention when you have a man that is like real temperamental too. That's something really important. I remember in my last serious relationship, it's like I would find out a couple of days later why he had an attitude. I'm like, oh, that's what your problem was, right? When I was a teenager and I lived in Boston, I dated this guy. His name was Mark. And I remember Mark came to see me, and Mark had scars. And I was like, Mark, what happened? Tell me what happened. He was like, no, it's fine. He was getting angry. And let me tell you what that was a result of. It was a result of him laying pipe with somebody else, and the girl's baby father caught on, and the girl's baby father bust him up. Yup. That's what he got. He deserved it. Good for him. You understand? We take our licks, we take our knocks, and we learn and we move on. You understand? A man is going to do what he is going to do regardless of whatever you and him agreed upon verbally. Because here's the thing. These are things that you need to pay attention to when you're dating with purpose. Because if a man does not have discretion, if he doesn't have control, if he doesn't have discipline, if he doesn't have self-respect, do you think all of a sudden because you say I do and you put a piece of jewelry on his hand, and he stands in front of 200 people, that automatically he is automatically going to just, like, the universe is just, all of a sudden you have control? No. If he didn't have discipline before the marriage, he's not going to have discipline after. Facts. Hard facts. So communication is key, guys. Be careful if you are too nosy. What are you going to do with that information? If you think like, okay, he is messing around with the other baby mama, and we agreed that we weren't having an open relationship, you're gonna have to be clear about what this relationship is going to be. What is it going to look like? Are you staying or you're going, if you have to go and be Sherlock Holmes, okay, and Inspector Gadget? Here's another point that I definitely want to include in this video. If your relationship is a codependent one, like you're living in New York, because this is some real New York ninja stuff. It happens in other places too. Okay, that whole cohabitating and that 50-50 and all of that. When you have these kind of relationships and then the disrespect happens, and you bring equally the monetary value to the table as he brings to the table, and he is clearly having a whole nother relationship to the point where it's like you can't stand it, your sex life is suffering, that type of thing, your needs are not being met, sis, you're gonna have to go and get yourself another boyfriend, okay? Now, I know somebody's gonna be like, oh, you're over here advising women wrong. No, my friend. If you want to give horn, you're gonna get horn back. West Indian people, they know what I'm talking about. If you want blows, you're gonna catch blows back. If you want to give me a sister, all of a sudden I have a sister wife, the mysterious male cousin that you don't know and you're not really sure if he's really the cousin, you may get a sibling as well, okay? Until you guys can decide when the lease is up and you're gonna part ways. Now, I say all of that to say, because a lot of people that are really like romantic, they're like hopeless romantics, they think that's the end of a relationship, and it's not the end of a relationship. And I remember that I knew some people I knew them very well, and it happened, and the couple started seeing other people, and the gossip was serious. The gossip was so serious, and ultimately they repaired their union, right? Because they had tons of history. Those kind of relationships where people have been married for 20, 30 years, listen, it's no longer that relationship when you were 18 and he was 20. It's not that relationship anymore. And you must give people, don't be a nosy ass, you must give people their space so they can fully develop and have an understanding about what kind of what does that relationship look like going forward? Because there is such a thing as, Song of Solomon love, in my opinion, that true agape love, that kind of love where You know, yeah, we have children together. Yeah, we've been married. But, you know, on a real, I really care about you. I don't want bad things to happen to you because we have children together or we have grandchildren together. And, you know, and you can just, you know, love somebody in the purity of like they're a relative. That could totally happen. Like my ex, you know, in one of my, my past marriage, like I have that kind of like Song of Solomon love, right? Now I say Song of Solomon because in the Bible, I'm not a religious person, right? But I do know some things about what happens in the Bible. And in the Bible, there in the Song of Solomon, he addresses his lover, the one who is close to him, as a sibling as well. My sister, my lover, my everything, right? That's real. Because even if, those kind of people like, if we're not together, I don't want anything to do with you. That's not a deep relationship. It's not. It's not a deep relationship. That relationship is really, it has a lot of bases on somebody having expectations that weren't openly discussed. That's different. That's a whole nother video, right? But nosiness, it's like if you're gonna take it down that path, just be ready for the repercussions of it. But that last part, I definitely wanted to include it in the video because what makes a lot of women bitter is them feeling like, okay, you feel you have all the guy has all the options in the world and you're exercising those options, and here I am killing and shooting down all of these other connections that I had in the sake of my marriage so you could feel complete in a man, right? That's what happens when you deal with men that have low self-esteem. They don't want you to have male friends. That's a problem. We don't want that. That's whack. That's no good. It's like I'm just too grown for that shit. Like I've known these guys for 20 years. You want me to stop talking to a guy I've known for 20 years because you and I are in a relationship? Ooh, that's not good, guys. That is not good. If he's not a woman beater, he's definitely a narcissist for sure. There is definitely a dark energy characteristic that person possesses. So you want to be careful with that. The other thing I want to speak about when it comes to nosy is you got to be careful when you have in-laws that are nosy, right? You got to be careful with that because if your partner is somebody that's easily influenced, that person can, your relationship can go through a lot of harm because there are nosy people close to you in your relationship. And I also say that to say that I know that there's guys, they'll like try to talk their girlfriends out of well, we just spoke about that. We spoke about that because, they're out there doing dirt. Let me give you a story before we go. I was on a Zoom call one day and it was a Zoom call. It was like celebrating, like an independence for a country or whatever the case may be. And they had a DJ and the DJ was playing music. We're all chilling. We're like, everybody could see everybody. We're like dancing. We're having a good time. You know what we're doing in this social media age now. And there was a lady, gosh, she was so pretty, right? And you could tell her man, I don't know if they were married, I don't know, whatever. And he was apparently annoyed that she wanted him to come on camera and dance with her. Ooh, the scandal. I was like, ooh. He was annoyed. She was trying to hug up on him and kiss him. And let me tell you what happened. Late night, like a few minutes later, they were nowhere to be found. The camera was still on, but they were nowhere to be found. They have a child together. So that I know about them. They definitely, either she has a child, she came into the relationship with a child, or they have a child together. But they had a young child in the home under the age of 8 or young child. So the little boy would come on the camera. We never, listen, there was like a whole nother 45 minutes left to that program. I never saw the lady that was on the show, that was on the call. We didn't see her or her man again. He was physically, you could see he was annoyed that she brought him onto the camera, right? Because here's the thing. This was like one of those kind of like Zoom calls where it was something that was was based on a particular type of community. Now, what you think? What you think that was about? Oh, he doesn't want anybody to say, "Hey, I saw you," and you know what he's doing, right? He got a few girlfriends outside of the house, and she is just so in love or in whatever rapture that we try to have our men in, right? And it's not matched. And I felt sad for her because I'm like, she's so beautiful. God, she is one of those women. You know, we all have our strong points. You know, there's things that separate us from the next person, but she was one of those women that had the kind of look that most men are attracted to, most, and quite beautiful, fair, you know, striking looks, all of that. And, you know, her man was mad that he was on camera. Oh, well. So he's afraid that a nosy ass from their community is going to go and say, "Hey, we were out a couple of weeks ago or before the quarantine, and I remember him. He was trying to talk to my friend and such and such and such." You know, all of that. I remember one time, this is when I was younger, I had a girlfriend, and I could have sworn I saw her husband walking, but it was twilight, and he was with a girl, and I want to say he. I'm going to totally identify and say that it was him that I saw, okay? Because where I come from, and then just based on geography, like physically where we were, this was who it is that I thought that I saw, okay? And I tried to tell my friend, I said, I have to talk to you about something. She says, "What is it about?" She was on the defense right. She said, "What is it about?" I said, "Well, it's about, I think that I saw your husband." She's like, "Well, I don't want to know." I said, "You sure?" She says, "No, I don't want to hear it. Tell me, will you see? And she just got like defensive, but she first said she didn't want to know. And I said, "Okay, all right, no problem." And you know what? I respected that because clearly she already knows the battle she was in, and she didn't need me to add anything. She didn't need me to, add more insult to injury. And I still loved on her, and I left it as it was. And things are going to play out as they are, as they're going to play out. And, we all know women that are like this. But be careful and know that if you want to be nosy, it's like, what do you do with it? Do you carry that burden? Find a way to release it. That's another thing, too, because you don't want to be bogged down with information that you don't need. And, free yourself of it, because to whom much is given, much is expected. And if you know too much, there might be a lot expected of you, right? You may be called in to be a witness. You may be called in to advocate or to mediate a situation. Do you want to be that person? I remember I had a conversation with a friend, these are all full of stories and everything, but these are real things. And the person was like, "Gosh, I'm surprised, such and such happened to me. I'm surprised so-and-so didn't tell you." And I was like, "Well, we don't gossip." Right? It felt good for me to say that with a light heart. We're not gossiping. So no, I don't want to know. Right? That's the other thing too, because I'm such a lone person. I don't travel in the wolf pack. If you see me in the wolf pack, this is a one-off situation. I'm not that type of friend that I like all of us, all 7 of us to be tight. No, that's drama. Who wants that? Y'all who got those kind of friendships, y'all be gossiping and having little meeting calls and everything, and three-waying folk, and and cross-referencing, and this is what she said, and I knew she was lying. I don't need that kind of stuff in my life. My vibration must stay high. It must stay high and open and beautiful. Why? Because I don't want that to affect the way that I deal with other people and do my coaching and to mother my children. I don't want to know anything I'm not supposed to know. That's me. I'm not that friend. If you don't want to tell me, I don't want to know. Nope. If I ask you and you and I are doing some kind of coaching, or you came to me with a problem, I ask you questions, I'm asking you questions because I'm trying to find a solution. I'm really solution oriented. So you got to be careful and think about, like, what is the purpose behind me wanting to know all of this information? What am I going to do with it? Because you don't want to be in a time when you're supposed to be doing your self-care and you're showering, when you're shaving your legs or you're moisturizing your skin, and you're thinking about somebody else's stuff. That is heavy. It's heavy. I remember, of course I remember, there's a story. I had a client, and I remember that I happened to hear that they were going through trouble. I literally got sad right away for this couple that I knew. I cried. I was very sad. Oh God, this is bad. I don't want to know that, that they've broken up, because I could tell what kind of guy he is, I'm like, man, I hope that's not true. I even prayed for that family. That's how I am. Like if I get information, what am I going to do with it? Right? What am I going to do with it? What are you going to do with it, nosy lady? What are you going to do with it once you find out whatever you find out? Right? There was an episode, I think it was one of those shows, right, that we watch. And the lady said that her mom told her that when she was a little girl.